All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, time for another riveting lesson of APHUG, where we try to make economics understandable. In today's lesson, lesson 7.5, we're going to discuss more about standards of living around the world and about the path to development for different countries. All right, today's review question is, the maquiladoras of northern Mexico are which of the following? The maquiladoras of northern Mexico, what are they? Do you remember? Are they A, manufacturing outsourcing plants? Are they B, illegal migrant labor camps? Are they C, border squatter settlements? D, organic agricultural farms? Or C, commercial produce farms? All right, so those are your choices. A, manufacturing outsourcing plants. B, illegal migrant labor camps. C, border squatter settlements. D, organic agricultural farms. Or E, commercial produce farms. All right, so please select the right answer or your best guess, and we will tell you at the end of the video. The first word is going to be purchasing power parity. The second word is going to be foreign direct investment. The third word is development loans. Fourth word is Asian tigers. All right, everybody, so change locations, just for some variety for your life. Okay, so now coming to you from my dad's office. Okay, we're going to do word number one now. All right, so word number one is purchasing power parity. What economists want to know is, can you buy the same amount of stuff all around the world with the same amount of money? Okay, so the idea is like, can you buy the same amount of stuff with the same amount of money all around the world? I'm going to do some math calculations to figure this out, and one of the most fun things that economists came up with is the Big Mac Index. All right, so we're trying to figure out how much can you get with your money around the world. Are some countries undervaluing their money, meaning that they're making it worth less than it really is so you can get less with your money? That's what this is. So we're going to compare different prices of things around the world to what they would cost in the United States. Okay, the reason that economists pick the Big Mac is because the Big Mac is available in over 100 countries and it's essentially the same thing. So because you can take the Big Mac and you can see what the price is in over 100 countries, you can know how much are you getting for your money, right? Every single place you're getting the same Big Mac. So we want to know how much does it cost, first of all, and then if we adjust it with this purchasing power parity, we'll know how much we can really get for our money. So the latest numbers on average are that a Big Mac in the United States costs $5.67. Okay, so we're going to go with that as our standard that we're going to compare all the other countries to. We're going to see if the other countries are on par with the United States. So our Big Mac costs $5.67. I wanted to find Vietnam and use that because we already used Vietnam in the last video, but I found this really cool website where you could find out how many minutes you would have to work in order to earn enough money to get a Big Mac. And it was only 77 cities from around the world, and there weren't any cities from Vietnam on it. So I chose the neighboring country of Thailand for this example. Background info, did a little research about Thailand. Okay, first of all, the minimum per day is 300 Thai baht. Okay, so if you convert 300 Thai baht to US dollars, just with the regular exchange rate, okay, so you convert 300 to American dollars, it's about $9.08 a day. Okay, so that's the minimum wage in Thailand. The minimum wage in Thailand is $9.08 per day in US money. So I found another source that said that the average per month that a person in Thailand would make is 12,307 Thai baht per month. Okay, so on average. So first we said the minimum per day, and now this is the actual average per month is 12,307 Thai baht, which if you do the exchange rate calculations, comes out to $372.52 per month in US dollars. Okay, so a minimum that a Thai person makes per day is about $9, and then the average Thai person per month makes about $372. Okay, so now we're going to compare, knowing that information about the standard of living, we're going to talk about now how much it costs to buy a Big Mac. So to compare how much you could really get for your money in Thailand, we're going to take the price of a Big Mac in Thai baht, and we're going to divide it by the US average price. Okay, then we're going to figure out the difference between how much it costs for the Thai and how much it costs for us, okay? And then once we figure out that number, so we've divided how much it costs in Thai baht divided by how much it costs in USD, then whatever that number is, we're going to compare it to the actual exchange rate, and we're going to figure out, can you really get what you're supposed to in Thailand for your money, or are you actually getting less than you should, okay? So if we take the price of a Big Mac, which is 115 baht, and we divide it by $5.67, we're going to get a number that is 20.28. So that is what the exchange rate should be, right? Because a Big Mac is the same. For 115 baht, you're getting one Big Mac. For $5.67, you're getting one Big Mac. You're getting exactly the same thing. So those amounts of money should be the same. So when you make that calculation, you find that it's 20.28. When you compare it to the actual exchange rate, you find the actual exchange rate is 30. So this means that the Thai government is purposely devaluing their currency. You can't get as much for your dollar in Thailand as you should be able to if the purchasing power was the same for both the Thai baht and the American dollar. We want to understand that not only can you not get the same thing for the same amount of money, but also, like we discussed in the previous video, that people are not being paid very much per hour. Okay, so that brings us to an interesting website I found where you can see how many minutes it would take people in cities around the world to make enough money then to purchase a Big Mac. Okay, so we'll start with New York City because that's the comparison city. So in New York City, to buy one Big Mac at $5.67, you'd have to work 15 minutes. So after 15 minutes, you would have earned yourself enough money to buy lunch. In the last video, we also looked at Mexico and China, so I wanted to do those cities as well. So Mexico City. In Mexico City, it would take you 86 minutes to earn enough money to buy a Big Mac. In Beijing, China, it would take you 51 minutes to earn enough money to buy a Big Mac. So in Thailand, it's going to take you 46 minutes to make enough money to buy a Big Mac. All right, so what this tells us is that Thailand undervalues their currency, which we saw in the example, right? So the whole premise of this is that a Big Mac is the same around the world. So whatever price you pay should be the same because you're getting exactly the same product. Okay, so this is the economic theory. So we see that the prices are different around the world and that it would take you different amounts of time. Now, surprisingly maybe, of the three developing countries we just looked at, Mexico, China, and Thailand, it takes the least amount of time to work for a Big Mac in Thailand, right? So 46 minutes in Thailand and 51 minutes in Beijing and 86 minutes in Mexico City. So you might be surprised with the findings that in Thailand, you can actually earn a Big Mac faster than in the other two countries. The reason for this is that of the three countries we looked at, Thailand devalues their currency the least compared to Mexico and China, who devalue their currency even more. So China undervalues their currency 44%, and Mexico undervalues their currency by 53%. So that's why Thailand, you only have to work 56 minutes to earn the Big Mac because their currency is not as undervalued. It's more on par with the American currency than the other two. Okay, so the reason we talk about all of this is just because I want you to understand that you can't just look at straight numbers all the time. You have to understand how much can you really buy for your dollar in countries around the world. Okay, so we've seen that it's not even. $5.67 will not get you the same exact thing all around the world. It will cost you more to get that same exact good. Okay, so you just want to be thinking about that when you are thinking about how much does somebody make per hour, how much can they really earn with that money that they're making. All right, so this isn't to say that everyone around the world eats Big Macs all the time. They might not be that popular, but because they are for sale and available in over 100 countries, the Big Mac Index gives us a good idea. So the magazine The Economist has been publishing the Big Mac Index since 1986. Word number 2 is foreign direct investment. The problem we have is that developing countries don't have extra money to pour into their economies to build new services and new industries. But on the other side, developed countries have more than enough money to share with the developing countries. So what we're talking about now with foreign direct investment is different than with outsourcing that we talked about in the last lesson. So in the last lesson, the United States companies, for example, partnered with a separate company to make their products. Now what we're saying is that the company from the developed country is just going to make a factory in the developing country. This is called direct investment because the company from the developed country is directly investing and creating things on the ground in that developing country. So they're just making like an additional branch of their company in the country. So what do we mean by this? Let's take McDonald's, for example. So what McDonald's will do is McDonald's will build a new McDonald's restaurant in a developing country. McDonald's completely owns that new McDonald's restaurant. All right, so to help by giving people jobs in McDonald's restaurants will also help by increasing the sales of other industries that are related to McDonald's. All the things that McDonald's has to purchase, now those other companies that make those things can sell to McDonald's as well. So this is a way of increasing development in foreign countries. So foreign direct investment could be by a company or it could be by private individuals as well who have a lot of money. What's in it for them is that if they invest in something in a different country, they might be able to get a share of the stock of that company and might have like a 10% ownership or something in that new company. And so when the company makes money, they make money. The problem is that if the new idea doesn't take off in the new country, then the investor might lose money. An example of things when it just doesn't work out is how Starbucks tried to expand into Australia, but they expanded way too quickly and they couldn't really convince the Aussies to buy Starbucks. And so what happened was in 2008, they closed almost all of their stores. Slowly in the last 10 years, they've been reopening the stores, but it's not always guaranteed that the investment will pay off in the new country. Another thing that can be done is that the company might purchase existing factories that are already in that country and convert them to their company. So you don't always have to start from scratch. You don't have to build the factory from nothing. Sometimes you can use existing factories and just take them over and make them your factories. To sum up word number 2, foreign direct investment is when foreign companies or foreign individuals invest in a new opportunity in a foreign country, often a developing country, to expand their market, make more money, and hopefully help the developing country's economy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, today's interruption is brought to you by the beautiful fresh air of Pennsylvania. It's freezing out here. It's raining, but I wanted to show you guys that, you can go outside. And so you can see, like, I almost live on a farm. Well, not really. It just looks like there's a barn back there. It's somebody's shed. In my parents' backyard, that's their garden where they are planting potatoes and beans and peas and probably other stuff that I forgot about. And there's my parents' garage. It's very exciting. There's my car. And yeah, as you can see, no one's driving down the street. It's pretty visual though. No one really drives down the street very much. Bringing to you a touch of spring. Want to show you some of the daffodils that grow in my parents' backyard. Flower you don't see that often in Miami. And there I got my parents' house. So now you know where I'm staying right now. In lovely, beautiful, rural Pennsylvania. All right, I hope you enjoyed this interruption sponsored by Pennsylvania. Word number 3 is development loans. All right, so a problem we have here is that some developing countries lack infrastructure. If you're lacking infrastructure, you're not going to be able to entice the foreign direct investment. Private investors and companies won't look at your country because they'll say, well, you don't have the roads necessary to build our factory. You don't have the power, the electricity supply to power our factory. We can't possibly build anything in your country because how would we move stuff around, or how would we even power the factory? In order to fix this problem and fix the infrastructure in the developing country, the countries can apply for a loan. Countries can apply for a loan from something called the World Bank. The World Bank gives out development loans to countries so that they're able to build the infrastructure that they need to entice the foreign direct investment. So you need to build infrastructure with the loans. So that's things like electric power systems, hydroelectric dams, water purification, pipelines, highways, or national railroad systems. If you have these infrastructure improvements going on in your country, you're more likely to be able to entice the foreign direct investment. But like with all things, there's criticism. The criticism is that the countries take on massive amounts of debt and then they aren't able to quickly be able to pay back the loans. The idea of the World Bank is that you give the money to the developing countries and then they charge money for their services, right? You charge people money to ride on the railroad, you charge tolls on a highway, you charge the electricity that you're giving to people. So the country should be able to make money to pay back the loans through the projects that they're creating. But it's often not the case. Often the case is that the countries default on the loans and they're not able to pay the World Bank back. So some economists criticize what's going on here. Say even before they default on the loan, what if the payments are really high? They're trying to make these payments towards the World Bank, but other things are suffering in the country. The healthcare system is suffering, education might be suffering, because the government can't put money towards the healthcare system or the education system because they're paying off the World Bank. So the World Bank has a way to fix it. If the country is not able to pay off their loan, they're allowed to apply for highly indebted poor country status through the Highly Indebted Poor Country Initiative. If the country takes all the steps and proves that they qualify, they can get their loan significantly reduced by the World Bank. A country where this happened recently is Somalia. So Somalia showed that it qualified as a highly indebted poor country, and so the World Bank has agreed to reduce their loan. They did owe the World Bank $5.2 billion. And the World Bank decided that there's no way that Somalia is going to be able to pay off $5.2 billion. So the World Bank has decided to reduce their loan to $55.7 million. Instead of trying to pay the World Bank $5.2 billion, the money that Somalia has, they can try to put into other things. Brings us to word number 4. Word number 4 is a fun one. It's Asian tigers, also known as Asian dragons, because tigers and dragons, they're Asian. I guess if it was like America, it would be the American eagles. All right, so the Asian tigers. Well, so I guess they're called tigers and dragons, not just because those animals are associated often with the culture of Asian countries, but also because those animals are aggressive, and the economies of the Asian tigers are aggressive. All right, so we've been talking a lot about development. How do you go from a developing country to a developed country? Well, the tigers have done it. Previous to the 1960s, they were developing countries. Not a lot of industrialization, not a lot of urbanization, no growth in their economies. They were able to get a lot of money pumped into them, especially by the United States, after during the Cold War times, so in the 1960s and 70s, and now today they're incredibly industrialized powerhouse countries that make a lot of things. All right, so they were able, with those loans from the United States at the beginning, or really, I don't know, it might have been just free money. So with the infusion of capital from the West, they were able to take off, build industry, and now have really great economies today. All right, so we want to know a little bit about who the tigers are and what they make. So the tigers are Hong Kong and Singapore, And Hong Kong and Singapore are famous for being financial centers, so banking, loans, things like that. And South Korea and Taiwan, and they are known for being global manufacturers of automobiles and electronic components, as well as information technology. So thanks to those industries, Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan have become Asian tigers. So the Asian tigers are characterized by exporting a lot of things. They have high growth economies, and they've had rapid industrialization since the 1960s. Okay, something I think is just really cute is that some of the other Asian countries who are up and coming, who aren't quite tigers yet, they're called the Asian tiger cubs. So some of the economists called the following countries Asian tiger cubs because they're up and coming and they're little, but someday they're going to be big and famous too. So the Asian tiger cub countries are Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, and Indonesia. Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, and Indonesia are the tiger cub countries. Alright guys, so I just was talking to the camera and the camera wasn't on. Okay, so only good thing about that is that's the first time I've done that yet. So I just want everybody to know. Okay, anyway, back on track. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to talk about for the Asian tigers was I wanted to prove to you that I don't just make it up. So I did some research and I went to one of my favorite websites, the CIA World Factbook, and found some numbers for you. Okay, so I'm going to put up on the screen here all of the Asian tigers and the cubs, and then also the situation in the U.S. For a good reference, and then also the country of Chad. Since we've talked a lot about the country of Chad this year, we know that it is a developing country. So we've got the U.S. on the developed end to contrast to, and then Chad on the developing end to contrast to. Okay, so in our columns, we've got the GDP, the GDP growth rate, the GDP per capita, and then the population. Right, so we've included the GDP, which is the gross domestic product, and we've adjusted it for purchasing power parity that we talked about in word number 1. And so the GDP, if you forgot, is the total amount of goods and services produced in that country. Okay, so that's our first column. Our second column is the GDP growth rate. So how quickly is the GDP of this country growing? Okay, so that probably, just like urbanization, you have to remember that if it has a high number here, it means that it was able to come from something low and very quickly increase. If your country already has a really great GDP, it's going to have a slower growth rate. Okay, so the higher number means that this country is growing right now. Their economy is growing right now. And if it has a slightly lower number, it probably means that the economy is slowing down a little bit because they've already gone through their period of growth. Okay, then we've got the GDP per capita, so we're going to take that first number and divide it evenly by all of the people that live there. We're going to do this to give a rough estimate of how much money each person in the country has per year. This is not their actual salaries. This is just taking all the money in that country that's made and dividing it per person. Okay, so we kind of use it as an average of how much each person in that country would make, but it is not a real number. Some of the standouts are that you can see that Vietnam's economy is growing really quickly, 6.8%. So that's why they're in the Tiger Cub category. Okay, also Indonesia and Malaysia growing really quickly. Okay, also in terms of the growth rate, you see that that all of the 4 historic Asian tiger countries are all beating the United States. So they are still growing more quickly than the United States is. And you can see that Chad's growth rate is negative, telling us that that country is not industrializing right now. Okay, in terms of money, you can see the United States, for reference, the GDP of the United States is 19.49 trillion. 19 trillion. Okay, the only other, well, there's 3 countries that have, no, there's 4 countries that have trillions. So we've got South Korea with 2 trillion, Taiwan with 1 trillion, and Indonesia with 3 trillion, and Thailand with 1 trillion, and the rest of the countries are in the billions. So just to compare, you can see that that they're not making as much money as the United States, but we also want to keep in mind population. So that's why the last column I have for us, how how many people live in each country, so we can kind of just realize that, yes, if you've got more people, you have potential to make more money, right? There's more goods and services available and being produced because you just have more people in your country. Greater massive amounts of people equals greater creation of products and services. So, in case we forgot, the United States is the third largest country in terms of population in the whole world. The third largest population. So, the fact that we have the 19.49 trillion shouldn't be shocking. We have the third most amount of people. Okay, if we divide that by all the people, we get our standard of living at around $59,000. Remember, that's just an average. Lots of people make more than that. Lots of people make less than that. Okay, also on our list here, we've got Indonesia, ranked 4th in population. And then you can see some of the other countries have a lot smaller. Our smallest place on the list being Hong Kong. No, not Hong Kong. Our smallest place is Singapore. Singapore is ranked 110th, and then Hong Kong is also really small. So I just wanted to point out the populations. When you're looking at the total GDP, PPP, don't just tell yourself, oh wow, their GDP is really low, they must not be a good country. Keep in mind how many people they have there, okay? So if it's a smaller country, they're just not going to have the ability to make as much money. And then that's why we also want to divide it by the amount of people that are living there, because you can see that, like, for example, like of the Tiger Cubs countries, Thailand, their GDP is 1 trillion, but when you divide it by all the people, you only get 17,900 per person. If you take a similar GDP, like Taiwan, 1.189 trillion, you divide it by all the people, there's less people there, and so each person there is essentially making about $50,000. So big differences, stuff to keep in mind. But I just wanted to show you that the Asian tigers really are growing. They really do have good GDPs, and yeah, and their economies are growing quickly. So it's definitely the truth. Okay, so we'll put that picture so you can see it. All right. Alright, so for that review question we asked you at the beginning, we asked, what are the maquiladoras? Okay, so your choices were manufacturing outsourcing plant, illegal migrant labor camp, border squatter settlement, organic farm, or commercial produce farm, and the answer was A, manufacturing outsourcing plants. Hope you got that right. Hope you remembered what they were. Alright people, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Lesson 7.5, and you need to hit the like button and smash the subscribe button. I can't even do it. This was some child I won't name. It was like, Miss Hamming, you should be a real YouTuber. Okay, so hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for more quality APHUG content. Alright, and what would an APHUG video be without one of Miss Hamming's pets? So, she's trying to escape, guys. Whoa, okay. Come on, boo-boo. Hold on. Whoa. Difficult. Turn around. Okay. Alright, guys. So, I think every video is going to feature one of my beautiful pets. As you know, this is Camille. She's a fuzzy cat. And she's very mad that I'm holding her like this right now, so Camille says, Camille says let me go, and that's all. I was going to make her say, like, hit the like button, but she doesn't want you to do that. She just doesn't want to be in this video anymore, so let's see. Okay, let's do, Camille, can your paw do the outro? Okay, so, yeah, alright, we're gonna see you later. In today's lesson, lesson 7.5, we're gonna just going to be able to entice one of the most fun things that a common. Alright, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, the review question segment. Today's review question is, the maquilas of northern Mexico, the maquilas, that's not the right word.